We've been doing the J-rated life, and we've been talking about and we're basing ourselves in the Sermon on the Mount. And in the J-rated life, it's all about the heart, actually. And I'm going to take us back into just over the last few weeks. We've been pushing into a few things, and the first thing we've been talking about is Jesus taking hold of the law, which was written, and taking it to whole new levels and turning into something of the heart. I've got a slide up there which says we've just finished a section of the Sermon on the Mount which says Jesus had these phrases where he'd say, "But I say." You have heard this, but I say. And the J-rated life is actually about the heart and our inner life lining up with our outer life. Jesus came to actually give us a fresh new heart and not give us a moral code to live by. Christianity is all about the heart. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Let me show you where we've been. So we've got this phrase: you have heard that our ancestors were told you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, and then Jesus would go on and say, even if you have anger, even if you say raka, you're an idiot, basically, that's what that means. It's like murder in the heart. He went on further, he said, you have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say, even if you have lust from the heart, it's like you've committed adultery. This is as Jesus starts to describe a life, the J-rated life or the Jesus-rated life. He says that. Next one, you have heard the law that says a man can divorce his wife by merely giving her a written notice of divorce. But I say, and then Jesus goes on and calls us to a life of faithfulness. Not a life of, we've got this marriage certificate. It's actually a life of faithfulness, a life of commitment to each other from the heart. Another one says, you have also heard that our ancestors were told you must not break your vows, you must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. In other words, Jesus says, but I say, I want to take this a bit further, be a person of your word. Let your heart be true and be honest. Don't turn your life into a bunch of contracts and your relationships into a bunch of contracts. He goes on, he says, you have heard the law that says the punishment must fit the injury, an eye for an eye and tooth for tooth. He says, but I say, and then he goes on and says, I said turn the other cheek. I say actually take a humble approach to life. Be humble from the heart. Another one, it says, you have heard the law that says love your neighbour and hate your enemy. And then Jesus says, but I say love your enemy. In other words, I say come with a whole new heart of love. This is the J-rated life. Jesus is saying, let's get past these laws which keep society intact, if you like, and let's take it deeper than that. Let's get this manifestation of the heart. It's incredible what Jesus actually asked people to do, wasn't it? And then he goes on, and I want to, and it's just, that's all about the moral life and about how we interact with others. He now moves the Sermon on the Mount into a whole new space. Now moves from the moral behaviour of our lives to our religious life. And I love this stuff. The J-rated life, again, is not about the show or keeping the moral law. It's about the heart and the inner life lining up with the outer life. Same thing I said about the but I say, or the moral aspects of life, he now takes into our religious life. And he changes his phrase. He doesn't say, but I say anymore. For the next little section, he says this. You ready? Here it goes. He watch out. He says, don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others, for you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven. So he goes into this new section in the Sermon on the Mount. And basically, it says, don't put on a show. He'll then say, when you give to someone in need, don't do as the hypocrites do, blowing trumpets in the synagogues and streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I'll tell you the truth, they've received all the reward they'll ever get. I'll come back to these ones particularly. The next one, he says, but when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. In other words, bring it from the heart. It's about you and God. And it's about worship, and it's not about a show. Goes on, even starts talking, talking about prayer. He says, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in the synagogues where everyone can see them. I tell you the truth, that is all the reward they will ever get. So when you pray, you say, It's not a show. This is amazing, isn't it? How many of you struggle to pray out loud in a group? Isn't it interesting? The reason you struggle to pray out loud in a group, the reason I struggle, or we struggle to pray out loud in a group, is one simple reason. We're in a group. And we've got a whole lot of people, and we're worried that our prayers are not going to satisfy, or they're not going to be good enough for the people in the group. Question, who are we praying to? People in the group. But what happens if you really don't struggle with praying in a group? You're probably pretty good at it, and it says, don't pray publicly. Don't be an amazing prayer, basically, for everyone else to see. So praying is about what? The heart. And it's about communicating with God. Goes on, he says this, when you pray, don't babble on and on. That's for me, as the Gentiles do. Don't babble on and on. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again and again and again and again. Sometimes you hear people pray, and it's probably me, but you hear people pray and just keep uttering on, babbling on, babbling on. He says, don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask Him. Pray from the heart. You won't impress God by being repetitive. You won't impress God by being eloquent. You'll actually, when we pray from the heart. This is the J-rated life. The J-rated life is our moral life from the heart, our religious life from the heart. Let's go a bit further. When you fast, don't make it obvious. I'm fasting. As the hypocrites do, for they try to look miserable and dishevelled so people admire them for their fasting. I tell you the truth, that's the only reward they're ever going to get. Jesus is saying, fast, pray, give, do all these religious things, but do it from the heart. It's about an interaction between you and God. It's actually not about the people sitting around you. It's not about a show. And one of the things that you saw in those, if you look closely, one of the things that you saw was, you will get, if you do that, congratulations, you get your reward on earth. If you want big rewards, go with the heart, because they come in heaven, and it's pretty cool. I reckon God's reward system's better than our reward system. But our moral life is from the heart, but I say, our religious life, the things that we do in obedience to God, when we come to worship, it's from the heart. And that's what the J-rated life is lived out. Now, ready to interact? Out of just what I've just said, and it's just been simply the Sermon on the Mount, probably reframed a little bit, in your groups right now, what did you just hear? What impacted you from what you just saw on the screen? What does it say about God? What does it say about us? And what is God saying to you? I'm going to get us used to these 4 questions. We're going to interact around them. I've used them before, you know that. So in your groups, you've just heard a short message, and we'll kind of come back to other things. 4 questions to gather around, so you can even turn your chairs in closer if you like.